Yes.
Graham has a bit of a scarcity mindset, and all of the viewers are very well aware of this.
Your YouTube viewers know you as being Frugal Jack. Your co-host says you're cheap.
He's always felt like money can just go like this in the same way that it can come like this. And this has led to him consistently making decisions that I see are like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you trying to save $2, but you're allocating 30 minutes of your time shopping for a better quote? You're reverse image searching. You're going through to page 27 on Google to try to find something that looks almost like what you really want.
My wife does the same thing, just so you know.
But
we both grew up poor, but her thing is her family, like, sharpen your pencil. They negotiate everything down to the dollar. Mine was, I'm going to earn enough to take care of it. I don't have to think about it, right? That type of thing. So it's just a different mindset.
When his number one thing outside of YouTube and work and his, wife would be aquariums. He loves reef aquariums. And this brings him so much happiness. And I've seen it personally because I've lived with the guy. We've known each other for several years. And his aquarium is his pride and joy. Well, there's a new aquarium he really, really, really wants. It fits in his space perfectly, but it's $10,000. And he's hesitant to spend an extra $10,000 to get an aquarium that he knows he would absolutely love.
I don't need it right now. And
Well,
it's
again,
looking forward to
necessity,
something.
Need it versus possibility. But you can have it and you can show it a much greater quality of life. So you're like talking to somebody speaking a different language. It's not that you're not frugal, as you said. It's just as a necessity frame, you have a possibility frame. By the way, what I've done in that area, I'm not suggesting you do this. I like to, every once in a while with somebody that I'm in business with or partnership, whatever it is, I like to do what I call a jackpot, especially for people like him that are tight with their money. And what a jackpot is, I think of something I know they really want. I mean, I had, for example, I had a guy that worked for me that was not the president, but a high CEO in one of my companies early on. And he started telling me he was obsessed with Corvettes. And the new Corvettes were coming out, and he had a picture of the Corvettes. And he's like, someday I get a Corvette like this. And I'm like, you got enough money, why don't you just buy the Corvette? No, it's too expensive. And plus, they're now like $20,000 more in California because, the first ones are out there. They want a premium for them and all this stuff. So I called him the Christmas Eve. And I called him up and I said, Sam, I said, I'm so sorry. I know it's Christmas Eve, but we got a problem. I need to meet you at the hotel. Come meet me at this hotel right now. What's it about? I can't even tell you. Just get here. So he gets to the hotel, right? And out front is the exact Corvette that you can't get anywhere in the country. And it's the most expensive one. It's the white with the red interior and so forth, the convertible down, everything else. And I meet him outside and he goes, that's that car. What do you mean? No, that's the Corvette. That's the car. That's the ultimate car. I mean, that's the one that's here. And I said, wow, that's cool. I said, well, why don't you get in it? He's like, I can't get in it. I said, there's nobody here. I open the seat, the door. I said, jump in it. He's like, I can't. I said, get in. And I push him in. He sits down in the car. He goes, I said, how's it feel? He goes, that's incredible. I go, here, and I hand him the keys, right? He started crying. First, it was just shock. He started to cry. He had plenty of money. I got more for doing that for him than paying him as much as I pay him, which is plenty. I've given him bonuses that are different. I like to do things that, it's a total shock. It's a jackpot. If you go to Vegas and you won every time, what would the experience be? You pull down the first time, you win, second time, if you win every time, after a while, it's a job. You pull it, you make money. You pull it, you make money. The surprise is very useful. He's not going to make that adjustment on his own. I'm not saying you should go buy him his aquarium for $10,000.
I like this.
He's got 10 times more money than I do.
But I will say this to you. My experience is, I don't know anybody. I learned this actually, talking to a gentleman when I was 30 years old, who was a multi, I don't know if you remember Franklin, the Franklin Group, but anyway, gentleman who was a billionaire, started with nothing, and his whole approach was, I've never met anybody who tithed, and he said, tithing doesn't mean just church. Tithing is they gave away 10% or more of what they've earned for 10 years, who didn't become incredibly wealthy. I started tithing about 17% of my income about 15 years ago. The level of wealth that I've generated just in that time period is completely insane by my standards of anything I could ever need or want or desire, right? Billions, way beyond anything I can imagine. Wasn't even close to that before. You doing that for him is a wonderful gift. I'm not telling you should do this for him, but if you did, he'll never forget as long as he lives. He'll have all the joy you said. You'll have the joy of seeing him having that joy, and you'll kick his ass again in the future for not making those investments. You'll have fun with that process. You'll laugh about the whole thing, and you'll develop more income because you're a possibility guy. He's the necessity guy. And that's just how it works. I'll give you half, you put up the other half for it.
I just don't think that if I did such an act of generosity of, helping him get this
I'm
aquarium.
not suggesting that will make him better. I'm suggesting you will create more wealth as a result of that. Because it doesn't come from where you give it most of the time. You give it over here, you don't get it back from there. It hits you in the back head from someplace else. There is a process, I know it sounds ridiculous, of if you keep adding value, generating value for people, and you do it where it isn't just a trade, it's not a horse trade, you're not whoring, I'll give you what you want if you give me what I want. If it is a genuine just gift, it's an interesting thing that happens if you do that on a regular basis because you will have a different abundance opportunity and things will come to you. They really do. All I can tell you is it doesn't usually come from the source that you think it's going to come from.
I fully
and
agree
you'll
with
be
that.
more entertained by him than you even are right now. Although I have to say this is extremely entertaining. I can tell you in my own life, one of the gifts I have in my life is I go out to dinner and half the time somebody comes up, they bring the bill and say it's been paid for or that person over there paid for it. But my favorite ones are often when somebody will, they say they won't even tell me who it is, right? So it's like, they don't want to bother you, just change my life. I'm like, man, where were you guys when I was broke? When I didn't have any money. Now I got plenty and the people do it. But it's a wonderful gift. Abundance comes with more abundance. There's just, it's a flow. And you can be the abundant one in this relationship and you can lead him gently over time. Maybe your example if you want to. I'm not suggesting you have that responsibility, but you will benefit regardless. That's the thing I would argue.
And what would you do in my position if I aspire for more abundance, but I have a fear-based mentality about being looser, let's just say?
You're not going to do anything until you have to. You're completely necessity driven. So come up with a necessity and you will. Like, for example, if your mother was sick and you needed an amount of money you don't have and you thought she's going to die without it, my bet you find a way to come up with that money one way or another because of your necessity frame. He would do that anyway, but you would do it because of the necessity frame. It doesn't matter you didn't have it. You'd find a way. You just don't have that approach about abundance.
So in that case, does it make sense for me, hypothetically, to go and get a really nice house and just splurge on it, put myself out of my comfort zone just to force myself to pay for it?
I don't think so because I don't think you'll be happy because you'll be fretting about the thing constantly.
Okay.
It's like you need to do something consistent with your current values and rules. I would never say my values and rules are the ones that you should have. That worked for me when I was growing up and I was like, I grew mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but I was like, financially, can you really grow in that area? Because I grew up so poor. And I remember saying to my friends when I was growing up, it's like, someday I want to race camels between the pyramids. And so by the time I was 19, 20, I made a certain amount of money. I thought it was a lot of money then. And I went back to my friends. I said, let's go to Egypt. I'll fly us all there. We're going to race camels to the pyramids. And it was like, oh, easy for you. What do you mean easy for me? Well, you would call this money. I said, well, no, I'm not asking you to pay anything. Yeah, but you got all this money. I said, well, I work my ass off. I want to share it with you. And so for a short period of time, I got rid of all the money in my life. Not consciously. I sabotaged everything because I really wanted love. And I grew up thinking my parents left each other because there was never any money. I thought that was the source. They would have left each other anyway, I realize now. So it's like, after a while, though, one day I woke up and thought, if you can be more spiritual, should you? Of course. If you can be more intelligent, should you? If you can be more giving, should you? If you can be more prosperous, should you? Yeah, well, the answer is yes, 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 yes. It'd be stupid not to be, in my opinion. So it's like I have the capacity to grow in any area. Let's grow in this area too. And I think for the two of you, though, I'm not here to tell people how to live. I'm here to say, tell me what you want to do, and I'll show you ways to get there. His way of doing it is going to be a little miserly along the way and control. If he went and bought himself a big house, I did that. I went and bought a big house. And I was like, this is where my family's going to grow up. I bought the Del Mar Castle. It was literally a castle built from castles in Europe overlooking the ocean in San Diego, California. And it's like, I didn't have the money for that. I literally leveraged everything I had. The guy who sold it to me, he was going to sell it to one of these Saudi Arabian princes. It was during 1984 Olympics. And they came down and were looking at it. And I was like, I was leasing it just for a month. And I was like, no, my family's going to grow up here. We're going to find a way. And so I figured out how to buy this thing for this guy with literally no money down, not no money down, $40,000. I wrote a check for $4,000. He's like, no, you're missing some zeros here. But he found out how much money I had in total, had me give him every penny and commit to all these payments. And I figured out how to do it. It was not comfortable by any way, but I grew like you can't imagine. It was incredibly uncomfortable, but I said, this is where my family's going to grow up. This is going to be a metaphor for the abundance I have spiritually, emotionally in my family. I want them to have that in terms of the environment they grew up, because I grew up in a pretty rough environment. And it worked for me. It would never work for him.
How would a necessity mentality grow a business? Like how could we
by him
use
seeing what's necessary? The way you're going to influence him is showing him things that he'll see as necessary. You'll do it because it's possible. He'll do it because it's necessary. And there's many meta programs, by the way. That's just one of them. Like there's some people don't get along because if I showed you, I don't have a pen here I could show you, but if I showed you two rectangles, up like this and one on its side, and I said, what's the relationship of these three rectangles? Some people say they're all rectangles. Some people say they're all written by you. Some say they're all on the same page. In other words, they're all the same. Some people say they're all different. You wrote them at different times. They're different sizes, right? They're written in different moments. So some people look at life at how it's the same to relate to it. Some people look at how it's different. And most people have a mixture. Some people say, well, two of them are alike, but one's different. Sameness with exception. And some people say, well, one's different, but two are alike. They look first for the difference, then what's alike. But if you get somebody who's a total sameness person with someone who's a total we call it matching and mismatching. If you're a total matcher and you're in a relationship with somebody who's mismatching everything and they drive you crazy. In a business, you have to shut the mismatcher up and have them open their mouth once the plan is laid out. You want them to mismatch them. You want them to try and tear it apart. But that's just another meta program. There's another meta program that has to do with like what convinces you. Like, do you have to see something to become convinced? Do you have to hear it? Do you have to read it? What's the substance? And then the most important thing is how often. Some people hear it once and then they're convinced. Some people have to hear it 3 or 4 times. Some people have to hear it over a period of 60 days, 90 days. Some people, every time they hear it, you have to reconvince them, right? So there's these patterns in the mind that are really critical to understand because they help you understand how people are wired differently. And instead of being frustrated with them, especially if you have kids, that's when it'll really be interesting for you. It'll help you go, oh no, they're wired differently in this area. And then you can find different advantages. Like in Chinese medicine, they have different archetypes that they use. Some people are water, some people are fire. They have different qualities. And some of them you not relate to. But when you understand these 5 archetypes, you're able to go, oh, well, that's the water in my life. I get it. I'm not like that, but you begin to build an appreciation, excuse me, versus a judgment. So I find the more you can understand about human psychology, the more you can not only get along with people, you can have positive influence with people, you can meet their needs, which really makes them happy and you happy. And the more you can grow a business if that's important to you.
Thank you. This is honestly,
It's a funny conversation.
I've been looking forward to this for a very long time.
Well,
and
thanks
just to
for
be
having
able
me.
to shake your hand and have you on.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys for
are very
watching.
entertaining.